Number 10, Jessica Simpson. It appears that both Jessica Simpson and Ryan Gosling knew about Timberlake's shady ways for quite some time. During an interview, Simpson revealed that Timberlake had come over to her house many years ago after she had just come out of a divorce and Timberlake was fresh out of a relationship. But things escalated a little quicker than Simpson was anticipating, and the two ended up sharing a passionate kiss together. Simpson was initially very excited about this, as she was under the impression that there was a bit of a spark between the two, but she recounted how immediately after the kiss, JT pulled out his phone and started texting someone. Well, it turns out that that someone was none other than Ryan Gosling, and he revealed that he had made a bet with the Barbie actor when they were just 12 years old about who would kiss their Mickey Mouse Clubhouse star first. While there's a good chance Gosling probably forgot all about the bet and moved on since he was a functioning adult, it seems like Timberlake just never grew up and totally embarrassed Simpson. Number 9, Prince. The lead singer was a very likable person and didn't really have many enemies, but Justin Timberlake clearly wasn't too pleased with how the Purple Rain singer responded to one of his songs. After Timberlake released his hit song Back, Prince replied that he never left. While it didn't really seem like too much, JT really took the comment to heart and decided to call out Prince in his song Give It To Me when he said, "We missed you on the charts last week. Damn, that's right, you wasn't there." On top of that, many people were a little annoyed with JT when he accepted the Golden Globe for Best Original Song in a Motion Picture on Prince's behalf, and he decided to bend down to mimic Prince's small stature. The real cherry on top of the bizarre feud was when Justin displayed a hologram of Prince during his Super Bowl halftime performance after the late singer stated that the whole practice of holograms was demonic. Number 8, Britney Spears. This is a name that we will be seeing and hearing a lot of when it comes to Justin Timberlake. She really didn't have many good things to say about her ex-boyfriend in her new memoir, and she made some absolutely shocking revelations about her fellow singer. Now, while Timberlake had his own view on things back in the day, and many people initially felt bad for him after he claimed Spears cheated on him, it appears Britney had her own shocking side to the story. Spears is on the set of the music video for Overprotected Dark Child Remix when she mysteriously went missing for an hour on the second day of filming. Director Chris Applebaum revealed that he found the singer in her trailer where she was bawling her eyes out. That is when she revealed her phone to Applebaum and showed him that she had received a text message from Justin Timberlake which simply read, "It's over." Now, for two people who had such a long history together, that was a pretty cold way to end things, and as you will see later in this video, it wasn't the only time that JT caused some heartbreak for Britney. Number 7, SZA. Justin Timberlake has had a number of mishaps on television before, but this one really struck a chord with a lot of people who were in the audience and at home watching on TV. The two superstars appeared together on The Ellen Show along with Anderson .Paak to speak about their roles in the Troll World Tour. However, while Timberlake and Paak had every opportunity to answer the questions that were answered directly to them, Timberlake decided he wanted to try and crack open the jokes while SZA was trying to answer Ellen's questions. Timberlake kept interrupting and saying, "What are you doing to him, sis?" while using what many described as a black accent way of speaking. Aside from the fact that he was undermining SZA and not giving her the chance to answer Ellen's questions directly, many people did not take too kindly to Timberlake's fake accent. He's faced a bit of heat over being racially insensitive on numerous occasions, and this incident definitely didn't help his case. Number 6, Jessica Biel. This was more a case of the internet warning everyone about Justin Timberlake was doing to his wife. It seems like JT just can't keep his hands off anyone as he was photographed holding hands with his Palmer co-star, Alicia Wainwright. While that may not seem like too big of a deal to some people, it should be noted that Biel was pregnant with her and Justin's second child at the time. This obviously sent the internet into a huge frenzy as many people believed the singer and actor was cheating on his wife, and it sparked so much trouble that Timberlake actually had to post a public statement on Instagram. Timberlake let everyone know that nothing was happening between him and his co-star, but he acknowledged the fact that it was a severe lapse in judgment. He also noted that it caused serious issues for Biel and his family and sought forgiveness for his actions, but it's pretty clear that his judgment in these kinds of scenarios is not the greatest. Number 5, Kylie Minogue. Justin Timberlake found himself in hot water again over a video of him performing with Kylie Minogue at the 2003 Brit Awards in London. And with everything that's on the internet, this one has resurfaced on Instagram in the wake of the JT controversy. In the video, Justin is seen grabbing Kylie's behind while they're performing. and according to reports, he had apparently asked her for permission before the performance, but she refused. Later on, he even bragged about representing America to the fullest by copying a feel. So that's exactly the kind of person that Justin is. He has a history of harming women, and this is all a part of it. You might think this wasn't a big deal, but the fact that Kylie refused and he still went ahead and did it is a huge indication of his entitlement. This is hardly the first time Justin has been embroiled in a controversy involving a female pop star though. This wasn't a big deal, but the fact that Kylie refused and he still went ahead and did it is a huge indication of his entitlement. This is hardly the first time Justin has been embroiled in a controversy involving a female pop star though. In recent years, the once seemingly untouchable president of pop has been going through a reckoning. He's been the subject of many a think piece about the double standards women face in the music industry, so it makes sense that people are now looking back on his controversial moments and talking about his red flags. Number 4, Michelle Williams. From reflecting on some of her most iconic performances to shedding light on her conservatorship, Britney Spears' memoir is the gift that keeps on giving. Now, thanks to the audiobook, we also have a recording of Michelle Williams doing an impression of Justin Timberlake while narrating the memoir. A clip from the audiobook has since gone viral and has almost 17 million views. In the clip, Michelle recounts the embarrassing moment Britney and Justin ran into R&B singer Genuine. She said, "One day, Jay and I were in New York going to parts of town I'd never been to before. Walking our way was a guy with a huge blinged out medallion. He was flanked by 2 giant security guards, and Jay got all excited and said so loud, 'Oh yeah, faux shiz Genuine, what's up homie?'" Britney said that Justin wasn't even embarrassed when her assistants started mocking him for the incident. In the memoir, Britney explained that she sometimes thought Justin and his group NSYNC tried too hard to fit in with hip-hop artists that they hung out with. The clip sent internet users into a frenzy, with many people joking about Michelle's hilarious impression of Justin Timberlake. Number 3, Britney Spears Part 2. Yeah, there is a lot about JT in the Britney Spears memoir, and so much so that she deserves to be on this list multiple times. While things obviously did not end well between Timberlake and Spears, it turns out there was a pretty shocking moment that happened during the relationship that more than likely was the beginning of the end. Back in 2000, Britney discovered that she was pregnant with Timberlake's child and was very excited that she was going to get the chance to start a family with her partner. However, JT didn't see eye to eye with Spears and believed that they were too young to raise a child together and wanted absolutely no part in starting a family at the time. This left Spears with a very difficult decision to make, and unfortunately it ended up with her going against her wishes and getting in a Britney revealed that if the choice had been left solely up to her, she would have gone through the pregnancy and started a family, and this may have changed her path in life for the better. Number 2, Amanda Seales. Yes, it turns out the SZA incident was not the only time that JT was called out for being racially insensitive. Following the terrible killing of Ahmaud Arbery back in February 2020, many people took to social media to show their support for the victim's family and denounce racially motivated hate crimes. Timberlake joined in on the public outcry by posting a black and white photo of Arbery with the caption, "If you're not outraged, you should be. Justice for Ahmaud Arbery." Well, this initially seemed like a nice tribute while also calling attention to the changes that need to be made in society. Amanda Seales made a post calling out Timberlake for turning off the comments on his post. She stated that he had to be more of an ally and get in the weeds with his fans who are also fans of racist rhetoric. Seales even started her own hashtag #TurnHimOn to call out other celebrities like Timberlake who didn't want to call out their racist followers and help shed even more light on the persistent problems of racism. And number 1, Janet Jackson. Who on earth could forget about this one? It was the ultimate gaffe in the history of Super Bowl gaffes, and one that has lingered over the heads of JT and Janet Jackson since it happened. Of course, we all remember the incident like it was yesterday when Timberlake made the huge mistake of exposing Janet Jackson's chest to millions of people around the world on live TV, and this landed the 2 performers as well as television broadcasters in some serious hot water with the FCC. The incident meant that Janet Jackson was never allowed to perform at a Super Bowl again. However, Timberlake, who caused the incident in the first place, was invited back in 2018 to perform at the biggest football game of the year as a solo act. Well, even though more than a decade had passed since his last appearance, many people believe that he shouldn't have returned at all after his actions at the 2004 edition. He clearly embarrassed Jackson in a terrible way, and many people believed he never learned from his past mistake.
He hasn't dated any woman over the age of 25. Seriously. Even in his longer lasting relationships, as soon as his girlfriends reach his idea of an expiry date, they get the boot. While he has been linked to Naomi Campbell and Rihanna, who were older than the age limit at the time, they never officially dated. The women part of the ex-girlfriend club are not just your everyday beauties. All of Leo's ex-girlfriends are supermodel gorgeous. The ranks include Bar Raffaelli, Blake Lively, Kelly Rohrbach, Nina Agdal, and more recently, Camilla Morrone. At the tender age of 20 years old, Camilla began dating Leo, who was 43 years old. If you're keeping count with me, that's a whopping 23-year age difference. I'm sure a lot of people would find dating someone who could be your daughter kind of gross. All signs point to immaturity, which is an immediate red flag. Number 9. All of Leo's ex-girlfriends look the same. Young blonde beauties are clearly Leo's type, but when you put all the photos together, you can barely tell them apart. His most recent ex, Camila, probably looks the least like the prototype as a brunette, but when Leo first set his sights on her, she was, you guessed it, blonde. As the all-knowing minds of the internet suspect that the standard was set by Giselle, who he dated until she was the ripe old age of 23 years old. If you dig a little deeper into his dating history, it's clear that he was always into the blondes, even in the early 90s, but dating the same type of women and replacing them as soon as they reach an age limit seems really sketchy. Number 8. He takes all of these girlfriends to the same island for vacations. The evidence that Leo is a creature of habit in his relationships is overwhelming on this one. It might even be considered an orange flag if it was anyone else, but considering the strict dating standards he sets on his partners, why wouldn't he take them all to the exact same island for getaways? This island is incredibly private and Leo clearly loves it there. So much so he's actually recommended it to President Obama. The former president supposedly said, "If Leo recommends a place, I listen." And if Leo has been able to come here on several different occasions with different girls and not a single photo has come out, that's where I need to go. Number 7. The shocking age that Leo met his most recent ex-girlfriend. Camila and Leo are no more, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that she just so happened to turn 25 earlier this summer. The pair were originally introduced to each other through another Hollywood A-lister, Al Pacino. Here's where it gets sketchy though. Leo met her when she was 10 years old and he was in his early 30s. Gross. Camila's Al Pacino's stepdaughter. While we don't know how well they knew each other at the time, hopefully it was just a meeting in passing, but it's shocking to think about. In July 2019, Camila posted photos of Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, another Hollywood couple with a very distinct age gap, and captioned it, "A love like this." By drawing comparisons to her 23-year age gap relationship and Humphrey and Lauren's 25-year age gap, it's clear to see that she didn't think anything was wrong with the relationship. Although she may have forgotten to factor in Leo's expiry date in her plans for a long-lasting romance. Number 6. Less than 2 weeks after breaking up with Camila, he was spotted with another woman. Leo was spotted at New York Fashion Week getting cozy with Gigi Hadid after breaking up with Camila, his girlfriend of the last 4 years. Clearly doesn't take him very long to recover from a breakup. Leo's back on the prowl with his sights set on the newest blonde for the lineup. Based on the factors we've seen so far, Gigi fits the bill. Blonde, supermodel certified gorgeous. However, there are a few things that may throw a wrench in his rebound plans. Nobody freak out. Gigi is 27. If Leo can get past that age qualifier, there's also the matter of the child she shares with her ex, Zayn Malik. Now, if I were Gigi, I would take all of these red flags at face value and head for the hills, unless she really wants to go to that private island. Number 5. Leo reportedly pays big money for the best PR firm available. Sunshine Sachs is one of the most exclusive PR agencies available, so much so that they frequently turn down A-list clients and they don't even have a website. You have to have the right connections to get in with them, and they offer some of the best services the industry has to offer. Considering all of his interesting dating habits, it's no wonder Leo's been with the company for years. Ken Sunshine, the CEO of Sunshine Sachs, has mentioned Leo by name in interviews and articles, proving his close ties with the company. Reportedly, Leo doesn't interact with anyone who hasn't signed an NDA. Maybe this is just an attempt to keep some of his limited privacy, being one of the most recognizable faces on Earth, but this move raises a red flag. Number 4. Leo's self-titled foundation. The Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, or the LDF, is so attached to Leo's personal brand that it doesn't even have its own website. The LDF seems to be directed towards creating a better world for all of its inhabitants by targeting conservation of species, oceans, wildlands, and tackling climate change. All of this seems great, but in 2016, the foundation was target of a complaint from the US Department of Justice. It seems one of the donations made to the LDF directly linked to one of the largest embezzlement cases the planet has ever seen, $3 billion large. And if that's not enough to set off alarm bells, then there's the matter of the foundation being classified as a donor-advised fund, meaning that it doesn't have to file public disclosures of its revenue, expenditures, or disbursements. So we have no idea if any of the money they receive goes to any of the causes that the LDF claims to support. Their charitable galas are held in Saint-Tropez. They're reported to be filled with all kinds of debauchery at the low price of just under $12,000 a ticket. Number 3. Leonardo DiCaprio's environmentalism stops as soon as it's time to travel. Leo's holidays are always lavish. He owns an island off of the coast of Belize, and his vacations are frequently to new destinations. But I have to say, partying on a 350-foot mega yacht in St. Barnes that burns an estimated 300 gallons of diesel an hour likely does more damage to the environment than you or I will ever in our entire lifetime. In the same breath, Leo constantly calls out attention to the dangers of climate change and urges people at home to take it seriously. Clearly, he doesn't think it's serious enough for him to adjust his lifestyle. Number 2. Leo's close friends with a sketchy past. Leo's closest pals have been friends with him for almost 30 years. The likes of Tobey Maguire, Lucas Haas, and Kevin Connolly have all been spotted with him consistently. The gang of guys gained a moniker too salacious to be repeated here for being a randy group of guys only after one thing. They would go out on the town in search of women and a good time, not caring if anyone else was in the way. Beyond party boys in their natural habitat, there's a laundry list of illegal poker rings, lawsuits, and bad behavior attached to this group. All red flags here. And our number 1 red flag, Leo's been rubbing shoulders with political figures. Over the years, Leo's been invited to thousands of events and meetings with prominent figures. The ones that stick out the most as the most red flag behavior are his cozying up to political leaders and religious figures alike. Has been spotted visiting Pope Francis, and concerningly, he's met one-on-one with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Leo has stated that all of these visits were related to his foundation and on climate change, but his tactics of getting close to major world leaders to get his way are unsettling at best.
At number 10, we have Chris's known manipulation and exploitation tactics. Chris managed to land herself a talk show deal in 2013, but her show struggled with ratings, and Chris was soon pulling all types of wild stunts to rack up the viewer count and overall interest of the general public. One of these instances involved Chris making an announcement of, quote, introducing someone very special to her audience. Of course, when she walked in with a baby, everyone had naturally assumed it would be Northwest, who had yet to be revealed to the world at that point. However, the baby ended up being her stylist's newborn. Luckily for her show's future after that stunt, Chris managed to score the first exclusive picture of North, which was revealed on her show alongside guest Kanye West. At number 9, we have Chris's over-the-top behavior. For starters, she has the Keeping Up with the Kardashian theme as her doorbell tune. Not only this, but in 2016, Chris officially filed to trademark the term momager. She even apparently owns a personalized bathrobe with the same term across the back. I'd say it's low-key weird that she decided to trademark being a manager and a mom, since there are many who existed before her and continue to exist after her. Also, don't get me started on the artwork in the foyer of her home that shows her and her family covered by a painting of Snow White eating the poisoned apple. And while we're on the topic of her home, unsurprisingly enough, if you ever decide to pop a visit to Kardashian, you'll be super glad to know that there's a featured table with a pile of hundreds of non-disclosure agreement papers positioned for anyone who enters to sign before they're welcomed in. Nearby, there's a frame which quotes the old saying, "What we say here, we see here. Let it stay here when we leave here." At number 8, we have her obsession with appearances. Tying into the last part of the point before, Chris has done far more to keep up with her and her family's untouchable image. 6 weeks before Kim's wedding to Kris Humphries in 2012, Chris got her neck and face lifted to ensure she looked her best for their big day. Following this, she described the surgery as transcendental and a life-changing experience. At number 7, we have her children and how much distance distance they've put between them and their mother. Robert, for one, completely removed himself from his entire family, as Kris would make constant overbearing comments about his weight and personality. Whether or not she knew this was damaging to Rob over time, it was, so that should say a lot about Kris's parenting skills and family dynamics over the years. Even Kendall, who seems to be doing really well for herself and avoiding the reality portion of her Kardashian expectations, has banned Kris and the rest of her family from almost all of her shows. Kendall did this due to the paparazzi and fans creating buzz over her entire family instead of her, at her own events. It's genuinely sad that her mom has spent so many years chasing fame and big bucks that Kendall can't even attend her own shows without the media going into a straight frenzy. Despite most children wanting their parents to be with them while they achieve success, Kendall would rather not, and really, I don't blame her. At number 6, we have probably the weirdest red flag on this list, and that's Kris copying Kim's style. Kim has openly complained non-stop on their show about how annoyed she is over her mom copying her sense of fashion and, quote, stealing her spotlight. Of course, Kris seems to be a bit unreasonable in this sense, but hey, I'm not a parent, so what would I know? As a daughter myself though, if my mom ever started directly jacking my style, I'd like to think I'd make a big deal out of it too. It's quite tacky and really irritating for parents to try to be cool and act like more of a best friend rather than a parent to their kids, and that shows through the Kardashian children's upbringings. Of course, there's no problem in being a friend to your child, but there has to be boundaries to this and lines that are not crossed. Unfortunately, I don't think Kris understands this because she's constantly stepping into the friend zone, and in turn, her mothering pretty much goes out the window. At number 5, we have Kris Jenner's selfish tendencies. She is remarkably such a parent in a sense where everything has to go her way and under her saying, but she seems to go so overboard with this ideology. The driveway looking a certain way to their neighbors, if they were to ever use it for its actual purpose, because God forbid anyone did that, is just one instance of many. There's also the fact that not one single being, especially a man, has the ability to divide their family unless it benefits them on the fame scale. And if they do manage to squeegee their way in, they're completely pushed out of the picture to make room for someone who's willing to get the job done. I mean, if this is what we're seeing on screen, can you imagine the absolute self-centered and selfish behavior she exudes when the cameras aren't rolling? Not to mention, she enjoys playing favorites and even once stated that Kim was her favorite daughter of the bunch. I mean, it's obvious why, as Kim is responsible for the entire Kardashian startup, but it's still grossly wrong for a parent to enable this type of mindset. At number 4, we have Kris, who used to constantly ignore the Jenner sisters. As their stepmom, by no means is it her official responsibility to care for them, but at the very least, just acknowledge them. Back when Caitlyn identified as Bruce and Kris was still a Jenner by choice, Kris was displayed on the show to constantly shy away from spending any extra time with Kendall or Kylie, or even simply being in their presence. The trio never looked quite comfortable being alone together, and the Jenner sisters were rarely or reluctantly invited to their family vacations. And this wouldn't necessarily be as bad if their family's loads of boyfriends weren't also being invited to these family vacations, while 2 of their key players are missing. I'm not sure if it's because Kris didn't consider them to be hers, or if they weren't bringing in enough bank at the time to be important, but it does strike me as odd how much she seems to love and always want them around now that they're both huge household names. At number 3, we have Kim, a grown woman with her own children now, accusing her mother of being a bad parent. This just seems to be the icing on the cake of truth in regards to actually being a bad mom, when your own daughter raising a family is the one airing you out, regardless of whether Kim stated this during a heated argument or not. And speaking of Kim, when she was reluctant to pose for Playboy back in 2007, Kris was all for it and told her in short, quote, honor the tradition set by Marilyn Monroe and Janet Jackson. Once Hugh Hefner demanded more nudity, Kris was also the one to insist Kim shoot nude, aside from the dozen strings of carefully placed pearls on her body, despite Kim's hesitance. Luckily, Kim took her revenge by forcing Kris to do a naked shoot of her own, donning a single American flag alongside Caitlyn's gold medal. Unsurprisingly enough, Kris pulled it off and later had the image blown up and framed. At number 2, we have Kris being the ultimate micromanaging control freak. This is literally her entire personality wrapped up in a pretty bow. Her nannies have zero room to question her or her daughters and must do everything they say, even if they don't agree with their parenting styles. Photos only happen on Kris's terms, so for the Kardashian Jenner crew or anyone who works under them, taking photos comes at a huge price. For example, reportedly their nannies cannot take images while on the clock, especially of the kids, as this typically runs for a lot of money for publications. Kris forces her daughters to follow guidelines when they post on social media. They even have a fee schedule confirmed by Kris herself. Kris must micromanage at all times, and by this, she must run her household exactly how she sees fit. At number 1, we have Kris's uncanny ability to bank off her family. She self-brands herself as grandmager amongst her momager title, so it's no surprise she was elated to learn there would be 3 new bundles of joy expanding her family. Obviously, her emotions were routed in a different kind of happiness though, as she only really sees the monetary value in her current grandchildren. At one point, Kim, Kylie, and Khloe were all set to welcome their children into the bunch around the same time, and all Kris saw were dollar signs amidst the news. She later opened up about the possibilities of releasing a Keeping Up with the Kardashians spin-off centered around her and her 6 grandkids, Mason, Penelope, Rain, North, Saint, and Dream. If that doesn't tell you this is Kris's biggest red flag, I'm just not sure what will.
Number 10. Sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year, after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag, and it included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Glee alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Glee. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti, but the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J-Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J-Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke spoke about it again, which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. The Mark Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not JLo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that JLo was trashing belly dancing. So a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots. Number 4. Avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes JLo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3. The movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than JLo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2. Accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, J-Lo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans. Using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Fredo Daj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of J-Lo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Prey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful. Number 10. Strange comments. Martin is no stranger to controversy and has come under fire for several controversial comments that he has made. In fact, he himself has expressed outrage over a controversy that emerged after he told a leading US music magazine he enjoyed golden showers, which, if you're not familiar, is the act of urinating on another person. In 2006, he told Blender magazine, quote, "I love giving the golden shower. I've done it before in the shower, it's like so sexy, you know? The temperature of your body and the shower water is very different." But of course those comments received immense backlash, so much so that several conservative leaders in Puerto Rico spoke out against him and said that he should give up his charitable foundation that helps deprive children just because of it. The pop star was particularly upset by these comments and posted a statement on his webpage saying that he had never thought his comments, quote, "would lead us to an absurd political discussion that has become sensationalist. I demand respect for my foundation and our work." Interesting. Number 9. Music theft. Martin was sued by Luis Adrian Cortez Ramos twice in the span of 2 years for allegedly stealing his 2014 World Cup anthem from the aspiring artist. The once finalist of Idol Puerto Rico filed a second lawsuit against Martin, claiming his song Vida was almost identical to a song he wrote himself. Ramos wanted $10 million for the distress that had been affecting him for several years from the lack of recognition for his work. To break down the lawsuit, he demanded $1 million for being humiliated, ill-informed, and threatened, $2 million for copyright violation, and another $2 million for the quote, "severe mental anguish he has suffered and continues to suffer for the loss of his composition and creation without being credited or compensated." And what about the other $5 million? Well, Ramos claims that this was because his right to compensation for direct or indirect profits that Martin received because of the music video was actually entitled to himself. The song was recorded by Martin and included in the World Cup's official album. Ramos alleges that he was surprised, disillusioned, and just disappointed when Vida came out because the song was almost identical to the one that he had composed. Until that moment, Martin was apparently an idol for Ramos. Number 8. Bullying. It's well known that it took years for Ricky Martin to come out as gay, and he only did so in 2010 after facing immense pressure throughout his career. He now shows a lot of pride about it and has since joined various LGBTQ+ rights groups. But many fans were shocked when he admitted that he actually used to bully gay kids himself. Yeah, you heard that right. In an interview with GQ Australia, he confessed that out of anger, he used to bully gay kids as a child. Quote, "I was ashamed. When you're told you're wrong by everyone, from society, from your faith, my self-esteem was crushed. I took my anger out on those around me. I look back now and realize I would bully people who I knew were gay." He went on to say that it was because he had internalized homophobia, and at the time his sexuality was very confronting to him, and he wanted to get away from that. I mean, good on him for coming clean here, but it's just a shame that it's something he actively participated in because he was afraid that people would do the same to him. His confession definitely shocked and divided the LGBTQ+ community, although it was mostly swept under the rug. Number 7. The Barbara Walters interview. Now this isn't necessarily a red flag in terms of what Ricky Martin did, but rather something traumatic that he went through, which will give some background into his history. Back in 2000, Barbara Walters' infamous interview with Martin really added to the pressure the star felt to open up about his sexuality before he was ready. The singer has since spoken about how traumatizing the sit-down was, but it was obvious that even in that moment, you can see on the camera that he is very uncomfortable with Walters' questions. In the interview, he's hesitant to respond after she says, quote, "You know how you could stop these rumors? You could say, as many artists have, yes, I am gay. Or you could say, no, I'm not. Or you could leave it as you are, ambiguous." But the fact is that he clearly was not ready to answer the question. And in a 2021 interview with People, Martin eventually admitted that he finds the interview unsettling even decades later, and that it gave him PTSD. Quote, "When she dropped the question, I felt violated because I was just not ready to come out." He went on to say that he considered what he would do given an opportunity to redo that moment, and maybe he would have come out then. Number 6. Cultural appropriation. The international pop star has also been accused of causing offense to the Native American people and various indigenous cultures after posing for a picture wearing a traditional Native American headdress. The backlash against Martin came less than a week after Kevin Hart was met with accusations of cultural insensitivity for throwing his son a Cowboys and Indians themed birthday party. While working in the recording studio, Martin posted a photo on Instagram wearing a feathered Lakota headdress and aviator sunglasses. He captioned the picture, quote, "What happens in Miami ends up on IG." It's safe to say that the photo received less than favorable response from fans. Some suggested that he was taking inspiration from the iconic Village People, but the comment section lit up with accusations of cultural appropriation. One user even explained that there is no longer an excuse for such cultural insensitivity, and saying that there's information all over the internet now explaining why this is offensive to native cultures. So Martin definitely landed in hot water for that one, which made it clear that he wasn't really paying attention when a similar incident occurred with Kevin Hart. Number 5. Comments about the Virgin Mary. Ricky Martin once again came under fire for his characteristic statements, this time comparing the woman who gave him her womb for rent to the mother of Jesus Christ. Martin declared for the newspaper El País that his surrogate, who gave birth to his children, used her womb for rent, just like when Mary had Jesus in her womb. During the interview, he was asked if he resented being crossed off for using a womb for rent, to which he replied, quote, "I did not rent a womb, I borrowed the womb, and several times. And I have on a pedestal these great women who helped me raise my family." As a result, the singer received strong criticism from the Catholic Church, creating different opinions and sides about the true role of Mary in the life of Jesus, especially a priest who opposed Martin's statements and came out saying that Mary did not lend her body or her womb to God, first because the body is a gift from God, and secondly because it's not ours to begin with. It's safe to say that many people in the Catholic faith were extremely upset by his comparison. Number 4. Lawsuit. Ricky Martin is being sued by his former talent manager, Rebecca Drucker, for breach of contract as she claims that he failed to pay her upwards of $3 million in commissions. The lawsuit, which was filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court on June 29th, read, quote, "With Rebecca at his side, Martin made millions of dollars and therefore owes Rebecca substantial commissions." According to the legal documents, Drucker also resurrected Martin's career in every way possible with the help of sponsorship deals, touring, and recording contracts, and even helped him sort out his personal and financial problems, like his alleged tax evasion and substance misuse, even assisting him when it came to his children and problems with his nanny. But it wasn't until February of 2018 that the two called it quits on their professional relationship after a particularly ugly incident in Dubai involving Martin and his representative. In fact, Drucker said that the singer's career took a nosedive after she stopped working with him, and he eventually begged begged her to work with him again after struggling a lot in 2020. Number 3. Toxic work environment. Rebecca Drucker claimed that Martin had substance abuse issues. Rebecca Drucker also claimed that Martin had substance misuse issues and fostered a toxic work environment. The manager explained that she first befriended Martin in the early 2000s and started working for him around 2013 before resigning in 2021 because she claims the singer constantly mistreated and manipulated and lied to her. This is where it gets even crazier. The lawsuit also alleged that Drucker had to save him from facing serious repercussions after certain allegations almost surfaced in 2020. The lawsuit claims, quote, "For years, she protected Martin from the consequences of his reckless indiscretions. Rebecca did so not only because she was his manager, but also because she thought that Martin was her dear friend." It's unclear what these allegations against Martin are, but Drucker's claiming that she is being forced to remain silent about the abhorrent behavior that she has both witnessed and endured while working for him. The legal documents allege that Martin has now threatened her and is trying to force her to sign an NDA, so it seems like he is trying his best to cover up something scandalous that his former manager knows. Number 2. Restraining order. This month, a Puerto Rican judge approved a restraining order prohibiting the singer from contacting the person who filed it. According to the newspaper El Vocero, the unnamed petitioner reportedly dated Martin for 7 months before filing the order under Puerto Rico's domestic violence law. Most people know that Martin has been married to his husband, Juan Josef, since 2017, and they share 4 children together. So these accusations would have been disastrous for their relationship. The accuser claims that he broke up with the singer 2 months ago, but the 50-year-old was not having it and was seen hanging out near his ex's house at least 3 times. All of this allegedly caused his ex to fear for his safety. In fact, the authorities attempted to serve Martin the order near his home but weren't even able to find him. The singer's team has since attempted to clear his name, and in a statement to The Hollywood Reporter said, quote, "We are very confident that when the true facts come out in this matter, our client Ricky Martin will be fully vindicated." Martin took to social media to address the allegations and said that the protection order entered against him is based on completely false allegations, so he will be responding through the judicial process. And coming in at number 1, incest claims. Now this is the motherlode of all red flags. The same accuser who filed the restraining order in Puerto Rico turns out to be Ricky Martin's 21-year-old nephew. So now we're not just talking about domestic violence, but also incest. In fact, it was the singer's brother Eric Martin who revealed the alleged victim's identity. Dennis Yadiel Sanchez claimed that Martin was in a relationship with him for over half a year, during which time Sanchez says that Martin was physically and verbally violent. Under Puerto Rico's laws for incest charges, the sentence he could face is 5 decades in prison if the shocking claims are proven to be true. It's a bit of a grey area though, because some reports suggest that Sanchez's mother is actually Martin's stepsister, so the two of them are not necessarily biologically related, but it's unclear whether this even matters in the eyes of the Puerto Rican legal system. But of course, Martin has doubled down on his denial of the allegations, and since his nephew's identity was revealed, his attorney told the Post, quote, "Unfortunately, the person who made this claim is struggling with deep mental health challenges." Ricky Martin has of course never been and would never be involved in any kind of sexual or romantic relationship with his nephew, even calling the allegations disgusting. Number 10. Charged with possession. When talking about all of Miller's controversies, it's only fair that we start off a little tame. This one could easily go down as a harmless teenage mistake with all things considered. What happened exactly? Well, in June of 2011, Miller was a passenger in a vehicle that got pulled over for a broken brake light in Pittsburgh while shooting Perks of Being a Wallflower. And no, none of their co-stars were with them at the time, not even Emma Watson. Police found 20 grams of a leafy green substance on Miller, and the then 18-year-old was charged with possession. The judge was very lenient, however, and after giving them a lecture about influencing the younger cast members on set, he dropped the case altogether. The actor instead faced 2 citations of disorderly conduct and was ordered to pay $600. But it's clear Miller wasn't sorry, as they then went on to tell New York Magazine, quote, "It's a harmless herbal substance that increases sensory appreciation." Number 9. Kissed a fan. This one is slightly worse, but it's still a bit of a grey area. It was all captured on video in 2017 at a San Diego Comic-Con event when Miller asked fans why their character The Flash would have trouble getting drunk. Someone in the crowd correctly answered that Flash's metabolic rate makes getting tipsy very difficult because it's just so fast. But when another fan jokingly asked Miller to smell their breath just to be sure, Miller responded by kissing kissing the fan on the mouth, planting a big fat kiss on the man's lips without clear consent. The trouble is that Miller seemed pretty wasted in the video, and that's why fans asked if they were drunk in the first place. During the kiss, the crowd cheered and the man was left absolutely stunned as Miller continued to repeatedly kiss his face when asked, quote, "How did it smell?" before walking away. Some people say that the kiss looked consensual based on the fan's non-verbal cues, but he might have just stood still because he was shocked. Number 8. Music theft. Two musicians have accused Ezra Miller of stealing music they worked on and releasing it without giving them credit. Music producer Oliver Ignatius and rapper Guys Guevara claim the actor stole the music they worked on and posted it to social media without credits. Ignatius met up with Miller in both the Northeast and Hawaii to collaborate on new music, but soon realized that they, quote, seemed to be on a very dangerous spiral, and said that working with the actor felt like pulling teeth. In fact, Ignatius called their behavior atrocious, belligerent, threatening, and incredibly aggressive, also claiming that Miller threw an aggressive temper tantrum because they didn't agree that violence against women was worth singing about. Talk about red flags. But after Ignatius quit the project, Miller then posted the unfinished music online, including songs that they had not worked on at all. Now, Ignatius plans to file a court order for Miller to take the music down. Number 7. Idealizes violence. In 2011, the star took the role of a teenage school in We Need to Talk About Kevin. Dubbed as one of the most controversial movies ever made, Miller went very deep into the role of a sociopath, and the ultimate result was a portrayal so unsettling that they even said it bothered some of their friends. Quote, "I do get a certain kind of validation and gratification from the way people will sort of approach me tentatively, with a little bit of fear after they see the film. This admission by itself is not that strange, but it really becomes a red flag when we look at Miller's interview with Vogue several years later, where they asked the writer if she would like to see the crossbow that their character used to attack several classmates in the same film. They apparently keep the crossbow in their house. It's worth noting that the actor is also a huge supporter of the right to bear arms and has said that they don't have a problem with people owning semi-automatic weapons. Quote, "People need to protect themselves." Number 6. Choked a woman. This is exactly what it sounds like. In a since deleted tweet, a disturbing video shows Miller choking a woman at a bar in Iceland. The incident took place after Miller was approached by a group of eager young fans who were just excited to have spotted the actor. But the interaction escalated when Miller lost his temper at the young woman shown in the video. In the short clip, they could be heard asking, quote, "Oh, you wanna fight? That's what you want to do?" The woman, who was clearly confused, prepared to fight them in a joking manner, but Miller then attacked the girl by grabbing her by the throat and throwing her to the ground. The whole incident was rather uncomfortable to watch because it's clear that she was only playing around, but Miller was dead serious. The person filming the video could then be heard saying, "Whoa, bro," before the video cuts off abruptly. According to a witness at the bar, Miller was then escorted off the premises by staff. Number 5. First arrest in Hawaii. Ezra Miller's presence is becoming more of an imminent threat to the people of Hawaii than active volcanoes. Their first offense on the island came last month when they were arrested for disorderly conduct and harassment after an alleged incident at a popular Hawaiian night spot. They were arrested after South Hilo officers responded to reports of a disorderly bar patron. Police alleged that Miller had become agitated while other patrons were singing a karaoke rendition of "Shallow" from A Star Is Born and began yelling obscenities. Miller then grabbed the microphone from 23-year-old woman singing karaoke and later lunged at a 32-year-old man playing darts. The bar owner allegedly asked Miller to calm down several times, to no avail. After being arrested and charged on offenses of disorderly conduct and harassment, Miller paid the meager $500 bond and was released from custody. Number 4. Restraining order. After the incident at the bar, you would think Miller has disturbed the peace enough, but when they returned back to the hostel they were staying at, they decided to threaten the couple who lived there. The Hawaiian residents alleged that Miller returned home with a vengeance, burst into the couple's bedroom and screamed, "I will bury you and your wife." The petition alleges that Miller stole the wife's passport and the husband's wallet, which contains his credit cards, social security card, and driver's license. It's unclear whether the items were ever returned. The couple eventually decided they had had enough of Miller's behavior at the hostel and filed a restraining order against the actor. They asked the court to order Miller not to contact them in any form and stay away from their home and places of work. A judge grants the couple the restraining order the following day. Clearly, they weren't going to put up with Miller's anger issues anymore. Number 3. Second arrest in Hawaii. Just 1 month after their arrest for disorderly conduct and harassment, the Flash star found themselves in trouble with the law on the island again this week. This time, their arrest came for second-degree assault after an incident at a residence. Officials say Miller became irate after being asked to leave a gathering and threw a chair, which struck a 26-year-old woman on the head, leaving a half-inch cut. Miller was arrested at 1:30 a.m. during a traffic stop and was released from custody at around 4:05 a.m. An investigation into the incident is currently ongoing. The chair incident was more than a red flag, it actually marks a disturbing pattern we're starting to see here when it comes to Miller and violence against women, and it only gets worse from here. Number 2. Allegations of Last week, the parents of 18-year-old activist Gibson Ionize, formerly known as Dakota, accused Miller of their child. According to the Los Angeles Times, the parents of the 18-year-old Gibson Ionize were granted a protective order against the actor, accusing them of physically and emotionally harming the teen and behavior. Parents Chase Ionize and Sarah Jumping Eagle had their interim order of protection for their daughter approved by a judge, which says that Miller cannot contact the family or be within 100 yards of the residence. The parents accused the star of psychologically manipulating, physically intimidating, and endangering the safety and welfare of their child. Most troublingly, Miller and Gibson first met when they were 23 and 12 respectively, at the Standing Rock Reservation during the 2016 political action to stop the Dakota pipeline. Creepy would be an understatement. And coming in at number 1, allegations of kidnapping. 18-year-old Gibson, who according to tribal regulations is still under the care of their parents, as they are still considered to be their legal guardians, is believed to be somewhere with Miller at this time, but authorities cannot locate either one of them, and their whereabouts are currently unknown. In an interview with People, Sarah says that she has only spoken with Gibson 3 times since February, and felt that the phone call was being monitored and interrupted by Miller. She said that Gibson sounded robotic over the phone and said, quote, "Our daughter's basically brainwashed." This lines up with the family's previous allegation that Miller has exhibited behavior in a pattern of corrupting a minor and was secretly supplying Gibson with alcohol and other substances. The parents also say that Miller pressured Gibson to drop out of school, and when they flew to Vermont in January to check on them, their child had bruises on their body and was not in possession of their own driver's license, car keys, or bank card.
At number 10, we have Tom's accusations of forcing Scientologists to do grueling labor work for him. Over the past decade, numerous ex-members belonging to the Church of Scientology have stepped forward to point blame at the church for gross misconduct alongside several other allegations, and it seems Tom centers around the negativity. Former Inspector General Mark Rathburn once told R Online in 2011 that he obtained secret emails which proved that Scientologists were laborly forced to build a luxury bus to gift to Tom. In 2013, 15 ex-Scientologists also claimed Tom took reoccurring advantage of members while only paying them $1 per hour to complete endless jobs. Reports of their leader ordering them included completing the renovation of his home in Beverly Hills in 2004, overseeing the construction of a large custom motorhome for Cruise over a 5-month period, and assisting in the customization and construction of a special limousine for Tom Cruise. Former COS high ranker Amy Scooby once described having to locate Scientologists for Tom Cruise's household to cover the positions of nanny, cook, and maid. Reported documents allege that anyone who did not meet the requirements of their orders faced inhumane punishments. What are your thoughts on Tom Cruise's 10th red flag? Tell us in the comments below. At number 9, we have his apparent comparison of acting to fighting in Afghanistan. According to the reported deposition from 2013, during his $50 million lawsuit against Bauer Media, the actor supposedly informed the court that on-location filming was just as taxing as serving a tour of duty. The lawyer of the opposite legal team had brought up his absence from Surrey, which publicly equated it for these extended periods of time as being analogous to someone fighting in Afghanistan. Are you aware of that? Tom reportedly responded with, "Didn't hear the Afghanistan, but that's what it feels like, and certainly on this last movie, it was brutal." The press was instant on this headliner, and Tom's lawyer Burt Fields attempted to set the record straight by claiming Tom's remarks were taken entirely out of context. Burt further slammed the assertions that Tom Cruise likened making a movie to being at war in Afghanistan is a gross distortion of the record. What Tom said laughingly was that sometimes that's what it feels like. At number 8, we have Tom's divorce strategy. Tom has gone through 3 marriages so far, all ending in messy headlines and he said she said. However, it's been reported that there is much more in common with his foreign marriages than the fact that they just ended. Apparently there's a pattern shadowing the actor in every one of his splits with his ex-wives, Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Katie Holmes. According to reports, all 3 ladies were the exact same age when they filed for divorce, as well as each of them is 11 years younger than the last. Many of chalked the scenario up as a coincidence that he ended his marriage with them at the specific age of 33. However, others have noted that 33 is indeed a significant number for Tom's Church of Scientology. NY Daily News once reported, quote, "The original membership organization for the controversial religious group, the Hubbard Association of Scientologists, was founded in Phoenix, Arizona, which lies on the 33rd parallel." Outside of this theory though, there have been other simpler suggestions for this pattern, which is that Tom just has a preference for dating women under 33 and sticks to that no matter what. Regardless, it could be anything really. At number 7 we have Tom being accused of brainwashing his eldest younglings. While Nicole and Tom were still together, they adopted 2 kids named Isabella and Connor. However, once they split, it was stated that Tom did his very best to convince them that they needed to cut their mom out of their lives. This shocking allegation came from former Scientologist Sam Domingo in 2019 when Sam told R Online Tom made the decision to disconnect from Nicole and have his children disconnect. Sam claimed Isabella and Connor were forced into Scientology school and the removal of their mother. Furthermore, Sam went on to add that they were brainwashed by growing up without choices and that they are most notably being used as leverage for the church, and it's not right. Since this, Connor has reportedly been formulated into becoming the quote perfect Scientologist and remains under constant supervision as per the church-owned hotel surveillance. Isabella, on the other hand, started a promotional video for the church's London branch, which encouraged members to intern as auditors, where Isabella described how she felt the training was incredible and thanked her dad for everything. At number 6 we have Tom's toxic Mission Impossible 7 rant. His viral spiel during unprecedented times for the film industry reportedly resulted in a handful of crew members quitting. While the question of when filming for this movie will finally end has been up in the air for movie enjoyers since production halted during the prime time of the worldwide health policies, apparently Tom cost the team a lot more than monetary value can replace. While resuming shooting for the high-budget project, Tom famously scolded 2 crew members who allegedly failed to stick to official guidelines. Following this, reports detailed that 5 team members stepped down. The Sun described the December 14th occurrence, which faced obvious backlash. A source dished to the publication, "The first outburst was big, but things haven't calmed since. Tension has been building for months, and this was the final straw. There's been more anger and several staff have walked, but Tom just can't take anymore after all the lengths they've gone through just to keep filming. He's upset others aren't taking it as seriously as him. In the end, he's the one who carries the can." At number 5 we have Tom Cruise reportedly leaving his daughter Suri Cruise behind. Tom wants absolutely no one to think he just left his youngest daughter hanging to dry. However, this is exactly what several stories are claiming over the past couple of years. In 2012, Tom filed his lawsuit against Bauer Media for their articles, which appeared in Life and Style and In Touch, with claims that he turned his back on his daughter. However, he was later forced to admit in his deposition the following year that he hadn't seen Suri for an extended period of time because of his work. In 2012, it was marked at 100 days since he last saw her, and by 2016, In Touch had reports detailing over 1,000 days. A source informed the magazine that Tom, quote, uses his film commitments as an excuse, but the truth is that doesn't hold much weight with Suri anymore. The source added Tom's connection to Scientology with this, and their disconnection policy as well. Quote, he's disconnected from Suri because of her connection to Katie. He hasn't seen her since she was 7. At number 4 we have Tom punishing Scientologists. According to rumors stemming from former devoted member Leah Remini, who dished it all in her 2013 published piece, Troublemakers Surviving Hollywood and Scientology, there are a number of horror stories about their most famous member during Leah's time there. In November 2018, Leah described to the Daily Beast that Scientologists are told that Tom Cruise is saving the world single-handedly, so he is considered a deity within Scientology. Leah further alleged that Tom is scarily aware of what takes place in Scientology, as he has reportedly been a part of it all. Leah added that she's previously been told by a senior executive of Scientology who was there that David constantly threatened their staff with bringing Tom Cruise to Gold Base. Aside from this, Leah also described to the outlet that there was a time when Tom personally punished a high-ranking member under David's orders. Of course, the COS rapidly shut down these allegations, telling ET Canada the interview is a PR stunt to promote her fake reality TV show. Remini has gone out of her way to manufacture hate and instigate harm toward innocent people. At number 3 we have Tom criticizing Brooke Shields' fight with postpartum depression. Back in 2005, Brooke showcased her mental health struggles through her Down Came the Rain, My Journey Through Postpartum Depression memoir. Her Get Real tell-all follows the arrival of her daughter Rowan back in 2003. Brooke was uber honest about her use of therapy and antidepressants to cope, and this seemed to press Tom greatly. At the time, the actor spoke with Access Hollywood about how he felt Brooke's positive spin on her use of antidepressants was irresponsible. He further went on to say, when someone says medication is help them, it is to cope. It didn't cure anything. There is no science. There's nothing that can cure them whatsoever. I care about Brooke because I think she is an incredibly talented woman, but look where her career has gone. However, Brooke was not here for any of that and slammed Tom back in a New York Times op-ed, writing, "Comments like those made by Tom Cruise are a disservice to mothers everywhere. If any good can come from Mr. Cruise's ridiculous rant, let's hope that it gives much needed attention to a serious disease." Brooke later also told People, Tom should stick to saving the world from aliens and let women who are experiencing postpartum depression decide what treatment options are best for them. At number 2, we have Tom's alleged ties to the COS auditioning wives for him. In between Nicole and Katie, apparently, the Church of Scientology attempted to scope out the ideal wife for the actor. At least that is according to a mind-boggling Vanity Fair report in 2012. The VF article suspected that Shelley, wife of leader David, was hand-selecting the perfect girlfriend for their star member. During 2004, there was a rumored audition that took place with actresses who were also a part of the COS, who were called into what they originally assumed was a training film audition. However, according to reports, the actors were supposedly asked questions about Tom, and then in October 2004, Homeland actress Nazini Bonaiati was apparently chosen as the frontrunner. In line with the magazine, Nazini partook in daily audits over the course of a month and was forced to disclose every single detail about herself with nothing off limits. In November of that year, Nazini was eventually selected to go on a date with Tom, but she was reportedly told to break up with her boyfriend, remove her braces, and darken her hair first. According to sources, the actress also signed numerous confidentiality agreements, but the romance derailed in January 2005. Insiders claim Tom would report his live-in girlfriend to the staff of COS if he wasn't pleased with her actions. Resultantly, Tom apparently got someone to break up with her, with the explanation that the actor wanted someone with her own power, like Nicole. At number 1, we have Tom being the reason why his former divorces ended. Is Scientology to blame for the split from his ex-wives? A number of ex-Scientologists seem to think so. Previous high-ranking Scientologist Marty Rathburn alleged that his job was to facilitate the breakup with Nicole Kidman because she was a non-believer. In the 2015 documentary Going Clear: Scientology and the Prison to Believe. To corroborate these claims, Leah informed US Weekly that the Celebrity Center's senior vice president, quote, used confidential Scientology counseling sessions to bring a wedge between Tom and his wife Nicole because Nicole didn't want to do Scientology anymore, adding that through Marty Rathburn, he and David were able to get rid of Nicole to get Tom closer to Scientology. Tom and Nicole split back in 2001, and Nicole went viral during the finalization process when she exited her lawyer's office in unfiltered bliss. As for Katie, if we time jump to 2006, their marriage was officiated with David as Tom's best man. But in 2012, Tom made claims of being blindsided by Katie's decision to divorce and gain full custody of their daughter Suri. While the COS wasn't directly meddling at the time, it seems the practice was the official fallout between the former couple.
Number 10, the CinemaCon incident. As Olivia was presenting at CinemaCon and promoting her new movie Don't Worry Darling, a woman from the audience approached her while she was still on stage and handed her a yellow envelope, which read personal and confidential. The whole thing was caught on camera, and as the actress opened the envelope, she found out it was custody papers from her former partner Jason Sudeikis. After a brief moment of shock, she decided to continue on with her presentation, but later decided to accuse her ex of maliciously planning the incident. She told Variety, "In any other workplace, it would be seen as an attack. I hated that this nastiness distracted from the work of so many different people, and that the studio that I was up there representing, and to try and sabotage that was really vicious. But you know, sadly, it was not something that was entirely surprising to me. I mean, there's a reason I left that relationship, but the truth is that Jason was not able to choose the time or the place that the papers were served. So Olivia claiming that he was trying to sabotage her moment was completely untrue." If you're loving this video so far, please hit that like button, it would really help us out. Number 9, Harry Styles' relationship. If there's one thing that the internet loves to do right now, it's tear down the romance between Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles. The couple met on the set of the movie Don't Worry Darling, which Olivia directed. He joined the cast in the fall of 2020, and by January 2021, the duo was spotted holding hands at a wedding, which naturally caused everyone to lose their mind. There has also been a lot of valid criticism directed at the couple, with some people questioning the timeline of their relationship, and they felt that Olivia moved on just too quickly after breaking up with her ex Jason Sudeikis. Former couple called off their 7-year engagement in November last year, and they shared 2 kids together. But most of the hate
date is due to the fact that she's 10 years older than Harry, which gets brought up a lot when we see that an older woman is dating a younger man, but often it's not the other way around. They are also mad that she is in a position of power over him as she directed the movie that he was starring in. So in a way, their whole relationship is a huge red flag. Number 8, queerphobia. Olivia Wilde has faced huge backlash after alleged homophobic comments she made in previous interviews resurfaced online. 38-year-old actress has been slammed by the LGBTQ+ community for comparing changing roles in her career to that of someone who was making a life-changing decision about sexuality. In the interview, she was talking about what it was like going from being an actress to being a director, and she said it felt like coming out of the closet. She angered that same community again on another occasion when she said that before she met Jason Sudeikis in 2011, she considered having a soft kind of lesbian relationship. Although it's totally fine to question your sexuality, people were mainly upset that Olivia claimed to have considered becoming gay just because she was lonely, which feeds into the stereotype that women only get into queer relationships because they don't seem to have any men in their life. Number 7, Shia LaBeouf comments. The actor was initially cast as Jack in Don't Worry Darling. However, pretty soon news broke in September of 2020 that Olivia had replaced him with Harry Styles. But the story that she began circulating was a little strange. She alleged that she fired Shia due to a no a-hole policy that she had while directing. She told Variety, "Shia's process was not conducive to the ethos that I demand in my productions. He has a process that in some ways seems to require a combative energy, and I don't personally believe that it is conducive to the best performances. Ultimately, my responsibility is to the production and to the cast to protect them." Just by her choice of words, Olivia made it sound as though he was a danger to the cast and crew, and that she had to fire him in order to protect everyone on set. This would have been easy for her to say, considering that Shia is being plagued by accusations of domestic violence at the moment, but in this instance, it was a blatant lie. Number 6, Kiki Lane. When it comes to the widely publicized drama surrounding Don't Worry Darling, there is new information being spilled every day. Kiki Lane and Ariel Stachel are now speaking out about how they were cut from most of the movie. They played the characters Margaret and Ted Watkins. Margaret serves as Alice's close friend and helps the protagonist in solving the mystery behind the Victory Project. The actress recently posted a video and 2 sweet images of the on-screen couple from the movie set on Instagram, but it was her caption that got everyone talking. She wrote, "The best thing about Don't Worry Darling is that I am lucky enough to meet Ariel Stachel. They cut us from most of the movie, but we're thriving in real life." When her Instagram post blew up, the outrage also grew. And one user commented, "Olivia Wilde cut a majority of the only POC characters out of her movie, marketed as a movie showcasing female pleasure when it was only about women being literally entrapped without their consent. And you still want to defend her?" Number 5, leaked video. In response to Olivia's comments, Shia publicly exposed the truth behind his leaving of the project. And in the biggest revenge move ever, he emailed both Olivia and Variety magazine, saying, "You and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because your actors and I couldn't find the time to rehearse. Firing me never took place, Olivia. And while I fully understand the attractiveness of pushing that story because of the current social landscape, the social currency that brings, it is not the truth. So I am humbly asking, as the person with an eye toward making things right, that you correct the narrative as best as you can." Shia then leaked a video of Olivia practically begging him to stay in the film and making it seem like Florence Pugh was the only one who didn't want him there. In the clip, she tells Shia that she is not ready to give up on the possibility of him working in the film, saying, "The fact that you're leaving might be a bit of a wake-up call to Miss Flo." That video went viral and the result was utter chaos. Number 4, underpaying Florence. Early into the production of the movie, there were reports that Harry earned tripled his co-star's salary, despite Florence being the film's leading lady. In early August, Showbiz Galore reported that she only took home $700,000 for her role as Alice, which sounds like a lot, but Harry was reported to be paid $3 million to play the supporting role of Jack, her husband, which if true would also be even more than the other notable co-stars in the film, like Chris Pine, who reportedly only made $600,000. But Olivia refuted the allegations and told Variety there is absolutely no validity to those claims. There has been a lot out there and I largely don't pay attention to it. She went on to call the pay disparity non-existent and said, "I'm a woman who has been in this business for over 20 years, and it's something that I have fought for myself and others, especially being a director. It's no secret that it's been an ongoing battle for men and women to have the same pay for film projects that they do together, so it's understandable that fans were fuming at the possibility that Florence was actually underpaid." Number 3, rude jokes. In March of 2011, after 8 years of marriage, Olivia filed for divorce from her first husband, Italian Prince Taurus Poli. While he was heartbroken after the split, it seemed like the actress was more focused on publicly humiliating her ex. In 2020, at an event hosted by Glamour magazine, she discussed trying to fake happiness with her ex-husband towards the end of her marriage. In fact, she aired out all their dirty laundry and even talked about how bad their sex life was. Quote, "I felt like my died, turned off, lights out. You can lie to your relatives at Christmas dinner and tell them everything on the home front is just peachy, but you cannot lie to your..." It really sounded like that was her attempt at a sex joke, but it wasn't great considering that it sounded like she just wanted to get up on stage and say that Tao was bad in bed. Even if she was joking, many people would agree that the whole thing was done in bad taste. Number 2, Richard Jewell. When the 2019 film came out, it was steeped in controversy, mostly because of Olivia's portrayal of real-life journalist Kathy Scruggs. The real Kathy, who died in 2001, was working at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution when she broke a story that the FBI was investigating the security guard Richard Jewell for the in Centennial Olympic Park during the 1996 Olympics. But the issue with the movie was that it depicted the iconic female journalist as having traded sex for information, which was particularly offensive considering the fact that there was no evidence that the real Kathy Scruggs ever did that. And even many of her past colleagues ended up coming forward and condemning the movie. In general, Olivia didn't seem to see a problem with it and actually made several statements defending the movie. But audiences found her character to be sexist, demeaning, and an outright insulting trope imposed on women. This led to a boycott of the film, as a lot of people in the journalism industry were up in arms over the portrayal. And coming in at number 1, the premiere. While Florence Pugh did not end up walking the red carpet, the internet could literally not get over how distant she was from Olivia the whole time. The 26-year-old was obviously giving her the cold shoulder, which comes as no surprise following all the rumors of tension between the two actresses. Not only that, but the weird vibes continued into the screening, where Florence and Olivia had to be seated 3 people apart. According to multiple eyewitnesses inside the screening, the actresses maintained their cold demeanors towards each other, and Florence even turned away from her when she started crying during the standing ovation. While yes, she did walk the festival's red carpet with the rest of the cast, she only posed for group shots, and the 2 women were not photographed together alone at all. And Florence didn't even pose for pictures with Harry either. So as much as Olivia loves to deny it, it's clear that there is still some deep resentment between them, and it would be very unlikely that they ever work together again in the future.